Chiropractors, is your practice patient-centered? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the KC CHIROpulse Podcast, brought to you by Chiro Health USA and CATS Consultants. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich. I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Kelly Fredricks.
Hello,
Dr.
everybody.
Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. I love the fancy library behind you.
Thank you.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I appreciate you coming on today. Just so everybody knows, Dr. Kelly is one of our coaches at CATS Consultants. And so she's got this amazing practice that is incredibly patient-centered. So you're the perfect person to join me on the podcast today.
Thank you. That makes me feel good. Yeah, we take it very seriously in this office. So I was excited to know that this is what we were going to talk about today.
Yeah, it's a great topic because my practice was very patient-centered and we really pushed this whole idea of being patient-centered. But I want to dive into this by talking just from a 30,000 foot viewpoint. What does that really mean? What does it mean to be patient-centered? What's patient-centered care all about? What are your thoughts?
I take it all the way to the very beginning. So from the very first phone call that they make to us, I feel like they need to feel that we care about them and that we're going to take the time to listen and we're going to take the time to answer their questions and that this is going to be a good place for them to come, that they can trust to bring themselves or one of their family members. It may be their husband, their wife, it may be a child. And then also it needs to start on day one as well. So everything from them walking into your office to us greeting them when they walk in.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And it's all about the service that we create, the experience that we create for the patients. And so it's not just about patient outcomes, but it's about the impact that drives patient outcomes, which comes from the very things you said. Great service starts day one, starts the minute they talk to you, probably starts in your social media, actually,
Yeah. Yes.
before they ever even interact with you. But it's that drive to create patient satisfaction
Mhm.
that then helps drive patient outcomes because you can't get good patient outcomes if you don't keep the patient in care.
Yeah. And it's
So,
driving all the feels, right? What do they feel when they're
right.
coming into that office?
Yeah. And that brings up a great point. Today's patients are way different than they were 5 years ago. 5 years ago, most patients coming into our practice, and it goes further back than just 5 years, but most patients coming into the practice were information based. They wanted information. How does chiropractic work? That kind of thing. Today, they're needs based.
Mhm.
That means they have a need that they're coming to you with the hope that you're going to fulfill it. So it's less about us educating them and more about fulfilling that need. And I think that's the center point of patient-centered care
Yes, I
in the
agree.
practice. And this is incredibly important, I think, for the chiropractic practice, especially because we have a tendency to be asking the patient to come in a lot more often than other healthcare practitioners. Aside from physical therapy and occupational therapy, we're asking patients to come in on a very repetitive basis where their medical doctors are not, their dentist is not, their massage therapist probably is not. So we then have to have this higher level of communication skill
Mhm.
to be able to affect this environment of patient-centered care.
Yes. Yeah. We do as doctors and our staff does as well,
Yep,
because
that's true.
they are coming more frequently and they are spending the majority of the time with our staff. So our staff needs to be taking that extra time to listen to the conversations that our patients are having and adding to that, maybe asking them how their vacation was that they just came back from, asking, oh, I heard your spouse was sick. How are they feeling today? Going that extra mile. And then also as doctors, you know, kind of honing our table talk. What are we talking about when we're seeing them on a regular basis? Is it something
Exactly.
that is continuing to have them feel like they need to continue their care and make sure that we're helping them feel patient centered as well?
Exactly. That on the with the table talk, are we building trust and rapport?
Yeah.
Our staff building trust and rapport? And I think one of the places, if we talk about how do you develop this, I think one of the places is really paying attention to customer service, whether it's reading books on customer service or watching videos on customer service as a team, really bringing the true tenets of great customer service into your practice.
Yes.
And I could go on and on with customer service stories because I'm very acutely aware of them no matter what setting I'm in. And I won't bore everybody with some of my stories today, but it's very important to bring this high level of service into the practice to be able to create this patient-centered care approach because, get to my point here, because we're being judged
Mhm.
by every other customer service experience the patient has had.
Yes.
And so if they've just been to Nordstrom's department store, for example, if you've never been there, it's huge high level service from the moment you walk in the door. And if you're not matching up to that, then they're grading you down on what that experience is like. So we've always got to be on our toes to be able to really drive that experience as best we can.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's easy to forget about that. For example, we had a doctor coming in today that was actually coming to meet to become referral partners with us. And we're so busy in our morning shift that I took a minute to stop and I said, everybody just look around the office. Let's make sure that we're greeting her when she walks in the door. Let's make sure that we're everything that we're going to do with our patients. Let's make sure that any person walking into our office is also feeling that as well. So sometimes you have to, it's got to be present time consciousness all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, acutely aware.
Yes.
Yeah, very much. I love that. So I want to dive into how we bring that more into our care plans and so forth in the practice. But we need to just pause here for just a minute to have a quick word from our sponsors. Our sponsors are Chiro Health USA and CATS Consultants. So take a listen to what they're doing and we'll be right back.
So we all feel it. Rent or dining out, gasoline or movies. As a matter of fact, the dollar is not going as far for a whole host of reasons. And it's impacting everybody regardless of your financial situation. Did you know that 38% of the overall population is having to reconsider how they're spending their money just to afford the health care they need? And if you break it down further, 26% have actually delayed the health care that they need, including going to see you, the chiropractor. So here's what we need to know about the breakdown in demographics. You would think that someone who's making $120,000 or more would be continuing their care right now. But the actual number is 18%. 18% of that group is actually putting off healthcare. And that's a group of people making six figures. When you take that same information all the way down to a group making 40,000, that number's much higher. It's closer to 40%. So it's never been more important than now to make sure you've made it easy for your patients to come see you, that you have choices for them, and you understand what they're going through at home. We want to make sure your practice thrives during this time, and we encourage you to learn about what Chiro Health USA can do for you and your practice and making it easy for patients to see you and continue care.
All right, everybody, we are back. We're talking about how to build patient-centered care into the chiropractic practice. And we've talked about some great things so far, Dr. Kelly. We've talked about what does it mean to be patient-centered. We've talked about some of the communication techniques and things. But I want to talk a little bit about how we can personalize patient care plans to really drive that experience around what the patient's needs are. And I know in your practice, you'd do a great job of this. And here's why I know this, everybody, because I'm actually a patient of Dr. Kelly's, and so is my daughter. So
Yes.
I know her practice very well. I think it starts with really being, again, I'm going to overuse this term, I think, today, but acutely aware of what patient needs are.
Yeah.
And so everybody comes to us with a different need, and that need isn't always pain based. A lot
Right.
of times there's this emotional connection. Maybe it's, I can't play golf. I can't bowl with my buddies. I can't play with my grandkids like I like to. There's some emotional need that they have. That's why they
Mhm.
come to you, and that's what they want you to solve. So we have to make sure that we're assessing the patient, not just on the orthopedic level and neurological level with all of our tests and things that we do, but we need to be assessing really deep enough so we find what that need is.
Yeah, it's all about asking questions, right? So in the first phone call, in the patient history, they're giving us a lot of information, but sometimes that's just surface level information. They want to talk about their neck pain, they want to talk about their back pain, but we need to go deeper. We need to find out what are the things that you're not able to do anymore and how is that affecting you on a daily basis? How is that affecting your relationships? How is that affecting your
Exactly.
sleep? It, there's so many factors to what we do beyond just adjusting someone to get rid of the pain, right? It goes a lot deeper. So we need to ask more questions and we need to sit back and we need to listen and we need to let them talk so we can start writing down what are the true goals. Is it, like you said, do they want to golf with their buddy? Do they want to be able to get down on the floor and play with their grandkids? There's
Right.
always something. So we just have to ask more questions, dig a little bit deeper.
Exactly. And I think part of too, one of the things that we really need to pay attention to assessing, and I think a lot of us miss this, is what's been their experience with treatment for their condition in other places. Have they gone somewhere else? Have they been to the medical doctor? Have they been to another chiropractor? A lot of times patients walk into the chiropractic office as a last resort.
Yes.
And so what's been that chain of care and what's worked and what hasn't? Because if
Mhm.
we're just going to go in and just repeat the same things they've already had that they didn't have a good experience with, we're going to degrade the patient experience.
Mhm.
So we have to take that into consideration. And I think the other thing that we have to do too is really help the patient understand how they're progressing.
Mhm. Yes, checking in, right? Checking on those acts of daily living, doing re-exams, doing progress exams, like where were you when you started and where are we now? How are we doing? Are you able to walk another block? Are you able to start exercising? Like, and sitting down and determining where are we in regards to the goal? Are we getting closer?
Exactly.
Are we making progress? Are we not making any progress? So what do we need to change? Do we need to change frequency? Do we need to change therapies? Do we need, if we have another doctor in the office, a lot of times right now, it's been super helpful for me. I have another doctor in the office. So maybe they're not responding to my technique, but they might respond to my associate's technique. But if we just continue doing the same thing over and over again and not checking in, that's when we have the patient pull out.
It's so true. The redundancy of care
Mhm.
wears people out and they forget. A lot of times they forget why they're there. They forget what their goals are.
Yeah.
They forget why you're treating them the way they are.
Yep.
And the minute they lose track of that, then they start making the decision that, I think I'm done.
Time to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm going to shift gears here just a little bit. I think another thing that really drives patient experience is how technologically advanced is your practice? Are you not using technology or do you not have computers in your practice? I won't obviously say names, but I know of a practice that it's not a member of ours, but of a practice that doesn't have any technology. They
Mhm.
don't have computers. They don't have EHR. They don't have electronic scheduling, online scheduling. They have none of that.
Yeah.
And they really have kind of a difficult time sometimes retaining patients because of it, because we're a high touch society today because
Mhm.
of technology. And patients want things like the patient portals, the online scheduling, those kind of things. They want to see that in your practice because it makes you look up to date.
Yeah, and it's also dependent on your niche and your demographic, right? If you're seeing a practice that maybe is an older practice, maybe you have geriatric base, maybe you have a practice where you're focusing on menopause. That demographic is very different than the demographic in my office, which are young families who are running a mile a minute. They have 10,000 things on their plate. They don't have time to pick up the phone and wait for us to answer. And they don't leave messages. So we have to have texting because they have to be able to reach us at all hours.
Definitely.
So if we don't have that, you end up losing patients and then you're not patient centered because then you're not making it easy for them to
Make it
become
easy for them.
patients.
That's
Yeah.
exactly true. Email is another one. Something simple, something most of us don't really think about. We email all the time, but are we allowing our patients to contact us by email?
Right.
Whether that's them being able to send their paperwork in before their new patient evaluation, that's a
Mhm.
huge time saver for everybody. And patients are very time sensitive these days. Little things like that, when you allow the technology to help drive the practice into the 21st century a little bit better, really keep you present time consciousness with the patient that you're the place to be.
Yeah. And it's also about efficiency for your own practice as well.
Exactly.
If somebody can text in, that's less stuff that I have to have. That's less time that they're spending on the telephone. That's more time that they can be out in my practice interacting with the families and interacting with and being more patient centered. So they're not stuck behind the desk all the time because we've got that technology to help us be faster, be more efficient, and just be more present time with our patients.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that I like to talk about when we talk about patient-centered care is it's not just the service that we offer, it's our physical plant as well. And
Mhm.
what does your practice look like when you open the doors to the patient and walk in? I know when I walk into your clinic, it's just an immediate, "Ah,
Yeah.
I'm just in
We
the right place. I'm just in a quiet, cool place."
Yeah, we hope so. We go for the energy. It's all about the energy of your clinic and who are you trying to attract. We love the holidays, any holiday, every holiday. So already we have everything is St. Patrick's Day. We just took Valentine's Day down the other day and had a patient came in today and said, I'm so happy to come in here because now I know exactly what holiday is coming up, what time of year it is.
That's great.
I go by what's going on in your office. You want it to be clean and fresh, and you want it to be everyone's happy place. That's what we say in this office. We want to be their happy place because we do want them to come frequently. So we want them to be
Right.
comfortable and we want it to feel like home as well. So they can go
Yep.
tell all their friends and family to come.
And you want it to be soothing. Does it smell good? Is it
Yes.
junky or does everything have a neat spot to it? Is it well decorated? I love the fact that everybody comes to your clinic to find out what's on the calendar this month, what
Yeah.
holidays are coming.
It's all the senses, right? It's sight, it's smell, it's so many
Exactly.
things. Hmm.
Yeah, I love that. So I think it's important to look from the patient's point of view at your office. What does it truly look like? And
Hmm.
look at everything. Your big dust bunnies behind the chairs. Do you have areas where the chairs have rubbed up against the wall and rubbed the paint off a little bit? Just it may be time to freshen up. You rearrange some of your artwork and things like that. Just little things
Yeah.
can make a huge difference.
And get your staff involved with that, right? Like, we don't have time
Right.
to be running around the office all day long. So takes whoever on your staff loves to decorate, who loves to organize, who loves to clean, and just let them go to town. Let them do it for you. And we have it we use a sauna in the office for our tasks. It is in our task master for once a week for that particular individual to do a walk around the office. What needs freshened up? What do we need new? What needs cleaned? Put it on the
Yeah, that's
task.
perfect. Yeah, exactly. Doctors, you don't have to put all this on your shoulders.
Yeah.
90% of this can be affected by the staff too.
Yeah.
Something else that I want to talk a little bit about is creating an environment where patients understand the value and benefit of long-term care.
Mhm.
So maintenance care, wellness care, whatever you want to call it, you understand what I'm talking about. But so oftentimes I see us trip ourselves up a little bit because we make these great recommendations for the acute aspect of care. Patients out of pain, they're doing great. We've met those goals. And then boom, we drop a new treatment plan on them. Oh, hey, by the way, I would recommend that you stay in care once a month for wellness care.
Yeah.
That that kind of makes a patient kind of take a step back for just a second. What is this wellness care? What are we going to be doing in wellness care? Where we're going to be adjusting you? How's that different from what you've been doing? Because you've been adjusting me. I don't
Mhm.
understand the difference. So I think there's a better approach to that when we talk about being patient centered. We need to think about how do we make that stick? How do we help the patient understand that? And I think that happens by introducing the concept up front,
Mhm.
not waiting until the backside and saying, oh, by the way, I have a different recommendation for care now. And Dennis figured this out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Dennis figured out that if patients came in pain, they didn't want to, they didn't get good retention by then telling them after they're out of pain, after their tooth is fixed or whatever, by then telling them, oh, by the way, at home, I want you to brush your teeth. And that sounds illogical
Mhm.
because we all brush our teeth. At least I hope we do.
Yeah. I hope you do too.
Yeah. But when we flip that around just a little bit and introduce that concept up front,
Mhm.
and make it a goal. Then when we get to it, wow, they're excited about going into it and it's not new. It's just the continuation of care.
Yeah. And you almost have to make it part of your brand. That conversation
Point.
can start on social media. So we highlight our long term patients, we highlight people that are coming for wellness. it's on day one phone call. They're going to get a lot of questions. Oh, how long does this take? And what is our care plan? And my
Right.
staff is trained to explain that we are a wellness office and a lot of our patients come once a week. Some of them come every other week, but that they're here for long-term care. And then also for sure in that report of findings, that's the time to really lay the foundation of this is our office, this is what we're about, and this is the path that we're going to take you on. And when they know that up front, like you said, then they're not going to get slapped in the face with, oh my gosh, I just came here for 12 visits or however 18 visits, and now you want me to keep coming. They already know that from the beginning. So it makes conversations so much easier. It takes so much pressure off of off the table to perform, I guess to say, because they know that this is a long-term thing, but it's all in regular communication and setting that up. And sometimes even we do some little things in the office of just introducing our patients. So this might be a new patient, and across the hallway, I might have a patient that's been with us for 10 years. And as we're meeting in the hallway, I introduce, hey, Jerry, this is Sam. She's been a longtime patient and she's on our membership plan. She comes every week. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that somebody could come every week. So we're always introducing that
Yeah.
to everybody because everyone wants to be part of something, right? And we want them to be part of our clinic.
Yeah. So well said. You mentioned something in there about social media and building your brand. And I think it's really important via social media, via being involved in your town or your area. There's something important about building a community around your practice.
Mhm.
And to create a strong practice, it needs to be highly referral based.
Yes.
And so, how do we gain referrals today? We gain referrals by networking. You just mentioned one thing, introducing a longtime patient to a new patient in the practice.
Mhm.
Just remember to only use first names and no conditions.
Right.
A little side word from HIPAA there. But how are you engaging with the local community? What is that brand image that you're building out there with people? How are you involved? Do you look like you're giving back by doing workshops or sponsorships or volunteering or whatever it might be?
Mhm.
And how are you leveraging that social media aspect to really drive your brand into the community so it becomes part of the community and the community surrounds itself around you? We
Right.
had that experience in our town with our practice, and we would get patients coming in who were referred by people who'd never been patients before. They just knew us from our involvement in the community.
That's great. That's what we're all striving for. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're building your tribe. You're building your
Good point. Yeah,
tribe
I love that.
around you. And that's the tribe that's going to bring the people that you want
Right.
because we have our ideal patient, right? So how do I find that ideal patient that's going to fit into our mold? Because there's some people that don't fit into our practice because they're
Sure.
looking for something else. And we know that's okay. That's okay. We'll send them to the chiropractor right down the street who also needs a great patient. So building that tribe so that way you're getting the patients that you want, but then also you're interacting with those referral partners that you want. And you're also being a resource to the patient, which goes back to what we're talking about today, the patient-centered practice, right? Is you have to be that trusted resource. And that means you have to know all the people in the community that are going to be the best of the best that you want to send your patients to.
Yeah, I want to go back to you just mentioned referral partners. That's
Mhm.
such a great point. We need to develop referral partners. So make sure you're networking, not just with the community in general, but networking with other healthcare providers out there. Don't be afraid to go talk to medical doctors and orthopedic surgeons and physical therapists. I know everybody thinks us that we in physical therapy kind of compete against each other. We don't at all. Go out and talk to the physical therapist how you can restore the kinetic chain after
Mhm.
they get done rehabilitating a knee, a hip, a shoulder. They're very condition focused where we're whole body focused. We can pick up where they left off and you can build some great relationships like that.
Yeah, we actually just went to a physical therapy office last week and they bought us lunch. I was
Love it.
so happy. I couldn't believe it.
Love it. We had a physical therapy office that would bring us treats probably every week,
Mhm.
whether it was some new ballpoint pens or
Yeah.
a box of bagels. They were always
Yeah.
coming and visiting with us, and we shared patients back and forth all the time.
And there's all different kinds of physical therapists too. So that
Correct.
goes down to also, again, being 100% confident in who you're treating, because there's so many different styles of physical therapy that sometimes diving deeper and finding the ones that are more niched with what you're doing are really the way to make the really good relationships. So whether
Correct.
that's someone that focuses on concussions, or someone that focuses on rehab after surgery, or someone that focuses on pelvic floor PT, or children,
Yeah.
someone that just does extremities. So what is it that you love to do in your practice, and find those people that you can work with?
Yeah, exactly. We connected with a pediatric physical therapist, and actually two of them. And my gosh, did they send us a ton of patients? And then they were patients too. They were always coming in and asking me questions about, oh my gosh, you treat colic. I see so many kids
Yeah,
with colic. They can't treat colic.
right.
So they would refer those kids over to us. So it's those little connections
Mhm.
that really make a difference. And I know it may sound like we're getting away from patient-centered care, but we're not. We're talking about driving the right people into your practice,
Yes.
because one of the best ways to be patient-centered is to be treating the right people.
Yeah, definitely. And also, they to be patient centered too is to always know what our patient needs, because we're seeing them so frequently and they're coming in all the time with different things. So at some point, they're going to have something that you can't help, that you can't
Exactly.
treat. And you have to be that person that can send them where they need to go. So that way they're not on the phone asking or trying to call all these people within their network and figuring out which doctor is good. Are they going to treat me well? Because you're going to hold such high standards in your office that you're going to want to send them to somebody that's going to treat them the same. When you can have more of those relationships, then that's also just helping your patients that much more.
So true. So true. And when it comes to patients, connect your patients to your practice. And one of the best ways I think of keeping them connected is asking for feedback from time to time.
Mhm.
Give them a survey, bring in your top 20 star patients and buy them lunch and just ask them questions about your practice. What would you like to see different? What do you love? What do you not love about the practice? How can we meet your needs on a deeper level? And that them feeling like they're helping your practice out in that way really ingratiates them to the practice.
Yeah, we just did a survey on the schedule because we were having, after the first of the year, we were having some really weird lulls in the schedule. And we were like, okay, maybe we need to change our hours. We just asked everybody, when do you want us open? And unfortunately, we didn't get clear answers. And it just seemed like whenever we're open, they're going to be here, but it was helpful to us too. But,
Sure.
they said, oh, this is really great. Care about us enough to ask us,
To ask.
what helps them.
Right.
So that was
Exactly.
one thing that we just did. That was easy for us to do.
Dr. Kelly, I appreciate you being on here today. We talked a lot about it, a whole bunch of different things about patient-centered care. If you feel like you're needing some help with this, here's the first thing I would do. If you enjoyed this podcast, listen to it again with your staff and get them in that mindset of how can we really pump up our patient-centered aspect of care in our clinic. This is also something through CATS Consultants that we help doctors with a lot. We do a lot of team development around becoming much more patient-centered. So go to catsconsultants.com, check out what we're doing for doctors. We've got all kinds of free resources on their blog. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, share it. Our podcast is growing like crazy, so we appreciate y'all listening out there. But check out what we're doing with some of the practices that we work with. And check out our new subscription program as well. Talk about making practice coaching simplified. Wow. It's super easy. It gives you so many tools to build your practice and so forth. So make sure you go check out catsconsultants.com. Also, make sure you check out Chiro Health USA as well. They do some amazing things for practices. So we appreciate them being one of our sponsors. Dr. Kelly, as always, thank
As
you for
always.
being on here. Thanks for being one of our coaches. We appreciate
Yes,
it.
it's always a pleasure. I love doing this so much. I could talk chiropractic for hours,
I know we can.
and we do.
All right. All right, everybody. On behalf of CATS Consultants, thanks for tuning into the KC CHIROpulse Podcast. We will see you next time.